For decades now, a specific prediction has shadowed the Islamic Republic of Iran, that it's a house of cards or an ethnic powder keg, waiting for a single spark to trigger a total collapse. The narrative suggests that once the central government in Tehran weakens, the country will inevitably shatter into a collection of smaller, ethnically defined states. But this prediction consistently fails, and to understand why, we have to move past the headlines and look at the persistent logic of human geography. On paper, the case for Iran's fragmentation looks compelling. We call the energies that pull a state apart centrifugal forces. In Iran, these forces are largely defined by a diverse demographic map. While Persians make up the majority, the country is home to significant populations of Azeris, Kurds, Lurs, Baluchis, and Arabs, most of whom live along the country's outer edges. When these peripheral groups feel marginalized, economically, culturally, or politically, the call for secession grows. In political science, the ultimate result of these centrifugal forces is Balkanization. The name comes from the violent disintegration of Yugoslavia in the 1990s. Balkanization describes the process of a state breaking up into smaller, often mutually hostile states. If we only look at the ethnic data, Iran seems like a candidate for this process. The border regions, or the periphery, often lag behind the center in terms of investment and infrastructure. This creates a classic grievance. The edges of the country provide resources, like the oil of Khuzestan or the minerals in Baluchistan, while the center reaps the rewards. Yet history shows that while these grievances can lead to civil unrest, they rarely lead to change in borders. To see why these internal fractures haven't translated into separate nations, we have to look less at the people and a little bit more at the terrain. The most powerful reason Iran won't balkanize isn't political, it's geographic. Unlike many of its neighbors in the Middle East, Iran is not a collection of lines drawn on a map by colonial powers. It's defined by the Iranian Plateau, a massive, high-altitude bowl rimmed by some of the most formidable mountains on Earth. These mountain ranges, the Zagros to the west and the Alborz to the north, act as a permanent centripetal force. In geography, centripetal forces are the factors that bind a state together. These mountains aren't just scenery, they are a natural fortress that isolates the interior from the outside world. Now, because of this bold topography, Iran operates on a strict core-periphery model. Tehran and the surrounding central provinces form a dominant core. Because the mountains make travel and trade with the outside world more difficult, almost all of the country's infrastructure, its pipelines, its highways, and its power grids, is designed to flow towards the center of the country. For a region like Kurdistan or Sistan-Baluchistan to secede, they wouldn't just be leaving a government, they would be severing themselves from the only economic and logistical life support system available. In a hard geography like the Iranian Plateau, independence often looks a lot like isolation. Furthermore, Iran is one of the world's oldest continuous civilizations. This concept, known as Iran Zamin, or the land of Iran, creates a cultural centripetal force that often transcends ethnicity. Even when citizens are deeply critical of the regime in power, the historical identity of being Iranian remains a powerful glue that prevents regional grievances from turning into total separatism. If the country is unlikely to break apart, what is the possible alternative to the status quo? The answer likely lies in devolution. Devolution is the statutory delegation of powers from the central government to the regional or local levels. It is the midway between a rigid, centralized state and total balkanization. We see this in the United Kingdom with Scotland or in Spain with Catalonia. For Iran, devolution could act as a pressure valve, allowing regions more autonomy over their language, education, and local economy without redrawing the national borders. There is also a global reason why Iran's map is likely to stay the same, the shadow belt effect. A shadow belt is a region caught between the colliding interests of great global powers. Because Iran sits at the crossroads of the Middle East, Central Asia, and the Indian Ocean, a collapse into balkanization wouldn't just be a local tragedy, it would create a geopolitical black hole. A fragmented Iran would mean multiple small states competing for control of oil fields and nuclear facilities, potentially triggering a refugee crisis that would destabilize Europe and Asia alike. Paradoxically, this makes a unified Iran a necessity for global stability. Even Iran's most vocal adversaries often prefer a stable, unified enemy to the unpredictable chaos of a balkanized vacuum. Ultimately, the reason the balkanization of Iran remains a theory rather than a reality is that it ignores the sheer weight of the land. While regimes are fragile, the geographic core of the Iranian Plateau is remarkably resilient. Centrifugal tensions are real, but they are constantly checked by the centripetal gravity of a mountain-rimmed interior and a civilizational identity thousands of years old. Power may eventually move away from the center through devolution, but the outer lines of the plateau are unlikely to budge. In a world of shifting borders, the map of Iran remains a rare geographic constant.